Hello dear kids, welcome back to the social science class. Today we are going to learn a new topic, that is history. Okay. India once was called Golden Bird or Golden Land, which was invaded by the Europeans or the foreigners. They made us feel slaves in our country. Okay. What do you think could be the reason for which the British and other foreign countries or European powers arrived in India? In this chapter, we are going to learn how the British established their rule in India and the revolt of 1857 or the first war of independence. Let us have a look into the mind map of our chapter. In this chapter, the coming of the British, we are going to discuss British policies of expansion and the growing discontent among Indians and revolt of 1857 and the consequences of the revolt of 1857. In 1498, Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, was the first to discover a sea route to India from Europe by sailing around Africa. Okay. The Dutch came to India after the Portuguese, then arrived the British, who emerged to be the most powerful of all. British emerged to become the most powerful. Then in 1600, the British East India Company came to India and established trade centers with the intention of trading spices, cotton and silk cloths, then medicines, perfumes, precious stones and metals. And India was rich in spices, cotton, silk, then medicines, perfumes, etc., etc. Okay. Eventually, the British gained power by defeating the Portuguese, Dutch and later the French. They established the first trading center at Surat. It is in Gujarat. Okay. And the British then signed a treaty. Do you know what is treaty? A formally concluded agreement. Okay. So, the British signed a treaty with the Mughal emperor. You will learn about the Mughal kings in the coming classes. And now, here we can learn the British signed a treaty with the Mughal emperor Jahangir, okay, to set up more trading centers. Okay, then factories were set up in Bombay. Now it is known as Mumbai, and Madras. It is known as Chennai now, right? And Calcutta, now Kolkata. And these factories became the main trading centers for the British East India Company. Okay. And the French, Dutch and the Portuguese fought with the British for power. Okay. And in 1664, the French established their trading center in Pondicherry, now Puducherry. And this caused a conflict between the British and the French, but in the end the British defeated the French and the British gained great profits and were greedy for more. They need more and they broke the rules and misused the facilities granted to them by the Mughal rulers, by the Mughal kings. So, the British has been allowed to trade in India without paying any taxes. This was one of the grant. And they had begun to keep an army in Bengal and had fortified. What is fortified? They made military forces. Okay, so they had begun to keep an army in Bengal and had fortified Fort William without the permission of Sirajud-Dowlah. Okay, the Nawab of Bengal. The Nawab of Bengal. Nawab means the king. Okay. When Sirajud-Dowlah demanded the British to pay taxes, they started a war against him in 1757. Remember the date? 1757. This war came to be known as the Battle of Plassey. Remember, what do you mean by the Battle of Plassey? The British had begun to keep an army in Bengal and had fortified without the permission of the Sirajud-Dowlah, the Nawab of Bengal. And when Sirajud-Dowlah demanded the British to pay taxes, they started a war against him in 1757. This war came to be known as what? The Battle of Plassey. The Nawab of Bengal was defeated and killed by the British. Okay. And in 1764, the East India Company started another war against the combined army of the Nawabs of Bengal and Awadh and the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam at Buxar. This came to be known as the Battle of Buxar. Remember, Battle of Plassey in 1757 and Battle of Buxar in 1764. And the British won the war and obtained the right to collect revenue. Revenue means tax in Bengal, and this made the East India Company very powerful as Bengal was under their control. Okay. And dear kids, the British realized that there were many big and small kingdoms in the country which fought against each other. They took advantage of this situation and introduced two policies, that is the policies of doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliance. Let us see what is doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliance. So, subsidiary alliance means this policy was introduced by Lord Wellesley. Okay, remember, subsidiary alliance was introduced by Lord Wellesley, who was the Governor General of India from 1789 to 1805. So, according to this policy, the Indian rulers had to give up their armies. To whom? To the British. And in return, what they will do? The British would protect them from foreign attacks. Okay. And the second policy was doctrine of lapse. This policy was introduced by Lord Dalhousie. It was introduced by Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General of India from 1848 to 1856. Okay. According to this policy, if an Indian ruler, if an Indian king died without an heir means a person who is chosen to ascend the throne, okay, or the one who is going to be the next king. So, if an Indian ruler died without an heir, their kingdom would come under the British. Okay, and this policy did not recognize, adopt, or this policy did not recognize adopted sons as heirs. They gradually extended their powers or their power to the other parts of India. However, there were a few powerful kingdoms who did not give up, and they did not give into the demands of the British. And the British fought many wars against these kingdoms and ultimately defeated them. And by 1850, they had established the rule in most parts of India. And let us see. The growing discontent among the Indians. Discontent means what? Not satisfied with a particular policy. As you all know, India is an agricultural country, right? Almost its entire population depended on agriculture, even in the past. The British wanted to collect as much wealth as they can, or as much as well they could, and so they forced the farmers to grow cash crops. Like about the cash crops, you have learned it in 4th class, right? So the British wanted to collect as much as they could, and so they forced the farmers to grow cash crops like opium and indigo. Okay, opium and indigo. These crops were then bought at very low price by the British from the farmers and sold in foreign lands at high prices. And to make the matters worse, the farmers had to pay heavy taxes. Do you know what is tax? Money which is paid to the government. So as a result, what happened? The Indian farmers became very poor. Okay. And what happened to Indian handloom industry? The Indian handloom industry suffered the same fate as Indian agriculture. It was completely destroyed due to the policies of the British. And silk and cotton growers were forced to sell their products to the British at low prices. And these were then sent to Britain, where cloth was manufactured and sent back to India for sale at high prices. So this was the major setback of the Indian textile industry. The Indian cotton growers and weavers were left unemployed. Clear? Now we are going to discuss the main content of our chapter, that is the revolt of 1857, or the first war of Indian independence. The discontent among the Indian rulers, farmers and weavers also spread to the Indian soldiers. The Indian soldiers were paid much less compared to the British soldiers. Higher posts were only reserved for the British soldiers, and the Indian soldiers were given the rank of sepoy in the British army. And however, things became worse with the introduction of the Enfield rifle in the army. And it was rumored that the cartridges means what? The bullets used in the rifles were greased with animal fat, okay, which had to be bitten off. This hurt the religious sentiment of both the Hindus and Muslims. Why? It was rumored that this fat was of cows and pigs. The cow is considered as holy by the Hindus, and the pigs were untouchables for the Muslims. So the Indian soldiers refused to use these cartridges or the bullets and revolted against the British in 1857. So this revolt was also known as the revolt of 1857 or the Sepoy mutiny. Mutiny means what? An open fight. The revolt of 1857 started in Meerut and spread to other parts of northern and central India. Some of the important leaders of this revolt were Nana Sahib, Tandya Tope, Begum Hasrat Mahal and Rani Lakshmi Bai, Jhansi Rani. Yes. The farmers and the workers also joined the revolt. The last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, he was the last Mughal emperor, was declared as a supreme leader by the soldiers. So Bahadur Shah Zafar was declared as the supreme leader, and however, the British had a large army and better weapons. British had a larger army and better weapons, They crushed the revolt. Many Indian leaders and soldiers were arrested and executed. And Bahadur Shah suffered. He was the supreme leader, right? He was arrested and sent on exile to Burma, now Myanmar. And let us see what are the consequences or the results of the revolt of 1857. The first one, the 400 years of Mughal rule came to an end. Second, some local rulers were allowed to rule their territories but were under the British rule. And the third, the rule of the British East India Company also ended. From then onwards, India was governed directly by the Queen of England, and Queen Victoria became the Empress of India. And the British government appointed governor generals instead of viceroys. And the last, the revolt made people realize that the British were exploiting them. This caused the people to come together and fight the British, the common enemy. There was a rise of nationalism. What is nationalism? A strong feeling of love or affection for one's country.
So dear kids, let's have a look into this PPT and we'll conclude the chapter. So our chapter was all about the revolt of 1857. Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese explorer, was the first to discover a sea route to India from Europe by sailing around Africa. And the British East India Company came to India and established trade centers with the intention of trading in spices, cotton and silk cloth, medicines, perfumes, precious stones and metals. The East India Company had a powerful army of more than 2.5 lakh soldiers. So, since they had a large army and better weapons, it was easy for them to crush the revolt. The Battle of Plassey in 1757, when Siraj ud Dawla, the Nawab of Bengal, demanded that the British pay taxes. The British started a war against him in 1757. So this is known as the Battle of Plassey. The Nawab of Bengal defeated and killed. The Battle of Buxar. The British East India Company started a war against the combined army of the Nawabs of Bengal and Awadh and the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam at Buxar in 1764. This war came to be known as the Battle of Buxar, and they won the war and obtained the right to collect revenue in Bengal. The British realized that there were many big and small kingdoms in the country which fought against each other, and they took advantage of this situation and introduced the policies of subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. And in subsidiary alliance, it was introduced by Lord Wellesley, who was the Governor General of India from 1789 to 1805. According to this policy, the Indian rulers had to give up their armies, and in return the British would protect them from foreign attacks. Doctrine of lapse. This policy was introduced by Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General of India from 1848 to 1856. And according to this policy, if an Indian ruler died without an heir, their kingdom would come under the British. This policy did not recognize adopted sons as heirs. Growing discontent among Indians, and mainly growing discontent among farmers. So, India was an agricultural country. and the British wanted to collect as much wealth as they could, and so they forced the farmers to grow cash crops like opium and indigo. And then these crops were then bought at very low price by the British and sold in foreign lands at high prices. To make matters worse, the farmers had to pay heavy taxes. The same way, growing discontent among weavers, the Indian handloom industry suffered the same fate as Indian agriculture. It was completely destroyed due to the policies of the British. Silk and cotton growers were forced to sell their products to the British at very low prices. These were then sent to Britain, where cloth was manufactured and sent back to India for sale at high prices. This was a major setback for the Indian textile industry. Discontent among soldiers. The things become worse with the introduction of the Enfield rifle in the army. It was rumored that the cartridges used in the rifles were greased with animal fat, the fat of cows and pigs, which had to be bitten off. This hurt the religious sentiments of both the Hindus and the Muslims, and the Indian soldiers refused to use these cartridges and revolted against the British in 1857. The last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, was declared the supreme leader by the soldiers, but he was arrested and sent on exile to Burma, now Myanmar. Consequences of the revolt of 1857. The 400 years of Mughal rule came to an end. Some local rulers were allowed to rule their territories but were under the British rule, and the rule of East India Company also ended. The government appointed a Governor General to rule the country. He was also called the Viceroy, and the revolt laid down the foundation for the future freedom struggle and inspired the Indians.
So dear kids, once Ram Prasad Bismil said, "Even if I have to face death 1,000 times for the sake of my motherland, I shall not be sorry. Oh Lord, grant me 100 births in India, but grant me this too, that each time I may give up my life in service of my motherland." Wow, really wonderful. So dear kids, there is no dream, and if there is only one: to see you, my children, struggling for the same and for which I am expected to be finished, and we all are expected to be finished. I love my country, we love our country. Saying this is not enough, dear kids. Prove something which shows that you love our country. So ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for the country. So take care. Bye bye.